Welcome back to CentralCoastRadio.com. Well, now I want to take a look at one of those films that just completely surprised me. This film is called Red, White and Brass. It comes out of New Zealand, and I wasn't really sure what to expect from this film. I have to admit, a few weeks earlier, I'd seen the poster of it in a cinema, and I thought, that kind of looks interesting. But then, the more I read about the film, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But I went along and saw it, and I've got to say, this is one of the most surprising films of this year. It is from director Damon Fapeley, and it tells a story that happened to be a true story during the 2012 Rugby World Cup, which was held in New Zealand. Now, a young Tongan youth group decided that they wanted to go and see Tonga play in the World Cup. But they had a problem. They couldn't afford tickets. So Maka, played by John Paul Falauki, decided that he had an idea that they would do a fundraiser and say that it was for the youth group, but they would actually be making money so that the youth group members could go and watch the Rugby World Cup. It gets discovered by his dad, who's the pastor, who puts an end to the plan straight away. Then Maka and his friend Veni, played by Dimitrios Schuster-Kalamati, decide that perhaps the next way that they can do that is to try and find cheap tickets somewhere. Maka tries that, buys some tickets off a wannabe gangster, and they end up being fake. And it soon feels like to Veni and Maka that they are not going to see Tonga play at the World Cup, and neither are any of their friends. But then something else happens. Maka finds out that they are actually looking for entertainment to play before some of the games, including the one in their home city of Wellington. And they are looking for things that represent the cultures that of the people that are playing in those games. Now he finds out that Tonga is playing France in Wellington. He suddenly comes up with an idea. What if they can put a brass band together and actually perform before the game? Big problem though, nobody in the youth group knows how to play any instruments. As luck would have it, a new arrival into the Tongan community used to be in a brass band, and he has a little bit of knowledge, and he starts working with Maka, and they start to put together this band that is pretty dreadful, to be honest, but their ultimate aim is to get to play before the Tongan-France game. Now, I found this to be a really, really beautiful film. If you like films like The Castle, you are going to like Red, White and Brass. It is such an underdog story. I love the fact that they kind of have this character, Maka, who wants to do good but constantly fails, to the point where his friends no longer trust him. Like he has this thing where he says to Veni all the time, "Have I ever let you down?" And Veni goes, "Yeah, constantly." But they actually make Maka kind of a lovable loser. There's some really great ways written into this about how he dodges hard work all the time, and the director's a little bit creative with the way that he shows that on screen. But there's also a very powerful storyline in here as well, showing about what life can be like for people in another country. So the Tongan community here have trouble at times fitting in with New Zealand culture and things like that. That's explored in the movie, but we also see about how some people in different religious groups or different nationalities get drawn towards a life of crime, and you have that here with a character who is a wannabe criminal who ends up having to work with this youth group if he wants to go to the World Cup. It's a heartfelt story. There are moments of true comedy in this film that will make you laugh, but there is so much heart in this film as well. And I just love the relationship that they've set up with Maka and his religious family. There is a lot to be said in this film about the Tongan community and how close they are and how they like to work together. Of course, there's some villains thrown in as well. So the hierarchy of his dad's church don't want to see this band succeed for a number of different reasons. So you kind of have that element to the storyline as well. But I think knowing that this film is based on a true story, that throws a whole new light onto this film and the story that you're watching. It's also interesting to watch the two main characters, Marco and Venny. Venny has kind of gone away and made a life for himself. He's got a good job. He's got a house of his own that he's renting, and everything's working out there. And then you've got Marco, who's like the lovable loser. But then there's a couple of times in this film where Venny is put down for the fact that he hasn't embraced his Tongan culture in the way that the others have. They kind of view him as an outsider, and that causes some problems along the way. And you can see the hurt on his face when different people point out to him, well, you're not like us. Like, should you really even be calling yourself Tongan? So the film does go into some pretty deep topics, but at the heart of it, like I said, this is a film like The Castle, where you've kind of got these characters that are down on their luck. They want to branch out and try and do what they can to achieve their dreams, despite the fact that it almost seems impossible that they're going to get there. But I think a lot of people out there are really going to like Red, White, and Brass. It hasn't had a lot of advertising, but go out and support this film, because I think it's a very beautiful, very special film. I'm actually going to give it 3.5 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed it. It has got a limited release, so make sure you check your local cinema guide to see if it's showing near you. But if you're in the mood for a little bit of a light-hearted film with a little bit of heart, go and see Red, White, and Brass. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5. You are on centralcoastradio.com.